Welcome to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. Now, here's your host, the Image Master, Holly Porter.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another day at the podcast. I'm so excited that you're joining us. It's a beautiful sunny day here in St. George, Utah. We don't always get to share where we live, but my guest actually lives here as well, which is really odd because I'm not even sure I've had maybe only one guest before from my local town. So I'm loving it. We met about 4 years ago at a meetup group that I had, and her name is the Samantha Parker. So welcome.
Yay, thanks for having me today, Holly. It is kind of fun to be in the same town, right?
Well, I never see you. So like we're totally online buddies, but we live in the same town and never see each other. So like, how often does that happen? I mean, it seems to be a little more, probably happening more and more all the time with all the online stuff. So, well, let me just share a couple things about you. And then if I miss anything that you want to share, you can jump in. But I know you have a degree in communications with a focus on technology. So you do, the digital stuff. And we'll talk a lot about that today, I'm sure. And you've been running your online business successfully for 5 years now. So I'm sure that seems like an eternity after all the changes that have been happening in the last 5 years. So your business is profitable and growing steadily, and you do a lot of content for people. And the funny thing is, I actually was at an eWomen conference, and I don't remember if it was a year ago or 2 years ago right now, but one of my friends had hired you, and I don't know if I even shared this with you, but she hired you to do some Instagram stuff for her. And I was like, oh my gosh, because she goes, oh, I know someone that lives in St. George, Utah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally know her. She's one of the only people I know there. So that was kind of fun. Let's see, your biggest epic moment, boss moment, you would say, is interviewing Gary Vee and a few other online legends. So I know I've watched your growth, and it's soaring, and you've had a lot of changes lately. So tell us what's up.
Yeah, I have had a lot of changes lately. So that's a great question. What is up? But yeah, no, so I recently let go of a big brand that I had been building for the last 3 years. But the cool thing about that was throughout that process, I had always maintained my own personal identity. And so I was able to pick back up with my personal brand. So even though I was letting that go and then coming back to my roots of social media and digital marketing, it was okay because people knew who I was and what I did.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so what's different about what you're doing now than what you've been doing in the last 5 years? Big shifts. Yeah,
so big shifts. Initially when I started out, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I decided to do social media, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, truth be told. But that's how we learn, right? So I really I do the same thing that I started out to do. It's just grown and morphed. And now, I have employees and all that kind of stuff. So while it has a different name and a different appearance, it's just grown with me as I've grown.
So what kind of pushback, because every time we shift and make new changes, we get a little pushback from some, because there's a lot of people with the personality style that can't handle change. Have you had that, or do you feel like you've had open arms from people? Where are you with that?
Yeah, so just so that everybody knows, so when I started my business, I had, I called it Hype Social Strategies, right? And then what I did was I started this passion project on the side called Badassery Magazine. And really I set out to kind of build a community of really fun women. And I wanted to feel supported online, because when you work, I'm sure you feel this, Holly, you feel a little isolated. You just said you don't get out in the community a lot,
Yeah. When
so,
I'm home.
Yeah, right? So I set out to build this big online community of showcasing other women and what they were doing. And, we ran that for 3 years. I worked on it full time, all of 2018, excuse me. But then I realized at the end of 2018 that I did it full time for a year. I'd been doing it for almost 2 years before that, just as a side project, that it really wasn't aligned with what I wanted to do. And, I had a business partner, and she wanted to go in a different direction. So at the first of this year, I just decided to let it go. Mm-hmm. And then I just picked back up with my own personal brand, which, it had been Hype Social Strategies, but I'd always been the face of it. So I picked back up and just renamed my marketing company, started pulling in big clients again, because I know what I'm doing online now. Yeah. But I didn't receive any pushback at all. In fact, I was super scared to make the announcement that we were dissolving Badassery magazine. But what I got instead was just like an outpouring of love. Like people were like, I'm so happy for your next step. Because I had been so present in the brand, people were really kind of in love with me and what I was doing and the value that I offered, and not necessarily that brand. So
Yeah.
I didn't get one piece of pushback. The only thing I ever got was like a couple of questions like, really, that's a really big community to let go of. And I'm like, you know what, that's okay.
You know what, sometimes letting go, and you probably, once you made that decision, I bet you just felt like you had lost 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea.
I do. That's
Literally,
why
I started to lose like physical weight. Like I've lost a ton of weight in the last couple of months.
It's amazing how that'll shift for you, you know, when you make the right decision and you're in alignment with what you really want. So I'm on the Think and Grow Rich World Tour. And when I did the Academy, we were in the first graduating class of the United States for the Think and Grow Rich Academy. And the biggest aha for me was that you should take your purpose, you should be able to put it into one sentence. And that was a mind blower for me, because I thought, oh, because we get it all mumbo jumbo, or we talk about all these things we want to have happen or we want to do. But when he said, no, your life purpose should be in a one sentence statement. And I was like, wow. So you want it so big, you know, like eWomen is to get 1 million women making $1 million. That's her purpose statement. She's right in alignment with that teaching. And so when people sit back and they think, oh, I have my purpose, I know my purpose, you have to make it so big that it's not necessarily that you have to reach that, but you have to have something higher and bigger to reach for. And so, I mean, I love it. I love that you finally realized, you know, that wasn't really who you were anymore. And when you were that, I say that like it's something, because it's over here now. But, you know, when you were, it probably felt okay. I mean, you were just kind of like, I doing a talk on decisions and riding a train. I talk about riding a train. You know, you just keep getting on these different trains. And then when you get on the right one, you want to ride that as far as you can go.
Yeah, it was kind of like I was on a train that wasn't moving, you know, and it needed to be like repurposed and sent to like a salvage yard just to look pretty.
Right. Oh, so true. Well, so before that, let's just back up a little bit. So before you started what you just left, you were working, you had the job, right?
So I had my own business online, yes.
Okay.
So, but you mean like before? So yes, I used to work like a traditional job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't always been an entrepreneur. I mean, you worked, you had a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that shift for you then? Like, what was like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now? Was it immediate or was it gradually?
No, and I know people have seen me speak live, or if they follow me online, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I talk really openly about this, but it took me a little while to get into a space where I could openly talk about it. So yeah, I had a job. I was actually a florist for a pretty popular floral place, and we were doing a lot of celebrity weddings. You know, I've got stuff published in magazines. Before that too, I worked as a CNA for 10 years. So it's kind of crazy, but yeah, but so I was working.
But you're only 21. What do you mean?
Right. Yeah. No, 34. But I was working as a florist, and I'd been working there for a couple of years, and the hours were just insane. And at the same time too, I was getting my bachelor's degree, finishing that up. And, you know, I've got 2 kids, my husband's in the Army. So, you know, I've got a lot on my plate. But at that time, like I literally had become so depressed that I had made the decision that I was going to commit suicide. And so that's kind of what projected me forward. And you know, I love to talk about this because there's so many women who have been where I've been, and they think that something's like super messed up about themselves and that they're these terrible people, you know, and I just was in such a hole. I would get up in the middle of the night and I would go cry in my closet. And then that day that I decided to commit suicide, it was like something just like slapped me. Like it was like a snap, you know, and it was like, you've got to get help and you've got to make changes in your life. And so that's kind of what I set out to do. So I walked into my job and I gave her a 6-week notice, and I worked it out.
I'm generous.
Well, yeah, I just, you know, it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just, I needed to make changes in my life. So I quit that job. And honestly, when I quit, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just finishing up my degree. And, you know, I had a friend come to me and she goes, I know what you're going to do, Samantha. You're going to manage my social media. And she like made me a logo and gave me a business name, like got me a Gmail. And then she took me to this conference that was an alt conference which is popular with a lot of women bloggers and things. I mean, it's massive. And I went to it and I was like, oh my gosh, you really can start your own business.
I can do this.
Yeah. So that's really how I got started online.
You know, a lot of entrepreneurs have similar stories where, you know, they literally had to drop, you know, to the very, very bottom before they were really able to get out. And I feel like it makes them, that those stories that they have, yeah, they're their stories and they are just stories, but it molded you to who you are today, and it's helped you make the decisions to who you are today. And think of, by not sharing that story, you know, if you just helped one woman or one person, anybody, a child, a teenager, or a man, it doesn't matter who, one person, and save them from maybe having to get there or help them climb out of that, it'd be worth it, right?
Oh, and it is. You know, I get women all the time, and men. Oh my gosh. I had coffee with a businessman here. He's like an insurance agent. And he's like, I watched that live video you did over and over and over again of you telling your story. And he goes, I would tell myself, if she can pull herself out of that, I can too. And I was like, what? You know, so you don't realize the impact you're having by just showing up and sharing your story.
It's so true. You know, this is the year that I got challenged by one of my mentors that I wasn't being, I mean, I'm super authentic. Anyone knows I'll tell you the truth all day long. Like, I don't have that issue. But my thing was, it was like the old life was a cover up, you know? And so I didn't look real. It was like, I looked like I was just always like this. And are you freaking kidding me? I was not always, you know, successful. I went through a lot. And so I made a slide that when I would speak, it would come up and it was like all the awards and everything I had, you know, that I had become. And then I said, but what you don't know, and I put this slide up, and I don't even really have to say anything because it's on my Money Talk, and it talks about everything that happened to me and how many times I've been married and, you know, all these things that happened that were just stuff that happened to me. And then it left me broken. And then I talk about all the money things, you know, that, I mean, I got married at 18 and had to file bankruptcy with my husband, and nothing on there was mine. 18. That's how I started my credit, you know? And so it was like, all this stuff came up, all that stuff left me broke, you know? And so that has been powerful because people have come up and said, until you put that slide up, I was like, what is she talking about? Like, it's almost like you're so unbelievable because only they see the facade, you know, they don't see what's inside. And I challenge everyone, we need to look deeper with people to see what's inside, because I wasn't trying to be not transparent or hide anything. You know, I pretty much was open about everything, but I hadn't really put it out there, you know, and that's made a huge difference in, I think, people feeling like they're connected. And so you saying that, I think that's what it is. They feel connected to you more. They're like, and same thing. How many people have you seen that you have gone, oh my gosh, if they can do it, you know, if they were this dysfunctional and did this, I can do this, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, a lot of times people think that people who have changed their lives and like done these amazing things have some sort of special secret sauce. And in a sense, like, I feel like I do. Like, I get up every day at 4:50 and I hit the ground running, you know, but you can have that special sauce too. Like, there's no secret, essentially.
Yeah. What time do you get up?
I get up at 4:50.
Why 4:50?
Because I need that 10 minutes. To pretend like it's not morning. I don't like, a lot of people will just pop out of bed. You know, Mel Robbins talks about the 5-second rule.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I think I need to like ponder my life for a minute before I get out of bed.
So I started doing 8 gratitudes. Everything I do is around 8. I'll do 8 gratitudes before I get out of bed. And I have it on my calendar to make sure it reminds me to do that, you know. But do you know that it's the hour of the angels from 4 to 5?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So a lot of people will wake up, you'll hear it from people. They'll say, gosh, I keep waking up, you know, at 4:30 in the morning or 4:45 or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, be so grateful. Stop and be grateful. Do your gratitudes, because it's when also, I guess, all your organs are aligned and the moon's aligned, the sun's aligned, all this stuff. And so it makes sense why it would be the angels hour. But anyway, that's when they're talking to you. So next time when you awake, just ponder and listen, you know?
Yeah, I love that.
Answers. Yeah, somebody told me they always would wake up at that time. I'm like, did you not know that? And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah. I mean, and there's probably way more to it than I know. I just have been always, every time I wake up and it's for something, I'm like, I'm really grateful because I must need to listen to some message. Anyway.
Yeah, see, I made a deal a long time ago with, I don't know what mysticism, you know, the other side, that I don't like being woken up in the middle of the night because it would irritate me because it was so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't talk to you guys right now. So I have a deal where we don't talk during nighttime hours.
Yeah. And my daughter is that way. And she's had to do this, you know, look, I need my sleep. There's a time and a place for these things to happen. And it's not when I'm sleeping. So leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, we're allowed to make our own rules, right? We're in charge of our own self. We get to decide what happens from one day.
Absolutely.
We can't control all the outcomes, but we definitely get to make decisions. So where are you at today? Like, what's your plans for, you know, this and what your Girl Alliance, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so my community is called the Girl Crush Alliance, and then we actually have like a digital program too called the Girl Crush Alliance. But really what I set out to do was to help people be their own girl crush. And I love when you said like everyone has a sentence, and I'm like, yep, that's mine. You know, it's on all of our logo and all of our branding, but essentially what it means is I want people to start looking at themselves in their lives and be like, damn, I really did that. Instead of a lot of times we project, you know, onto other people and you're like, oh, I wish my kitchen looked like that. I wish I could raise my kids like that. And I want people to start looking at their own lives, and then not just their own lives, but even their own businesses that they're building, and be like, damn, that's mine. I did that. Like, I am my own girl crush. So that's really what I set out to do. And, you know, I have the free Facebook group, the Girl Crush Alliance, and then we have a membership site as well that helps people with digital marketing tools, Instagram and different things like that.
Oh, and how has it felt not having a business partner?
You know, the PC answer. Honestly, it was one of the most freeing things I've ever done for myself. While, you know, she's an amazing woman and she's got like great goals and great things, you know, and it ended really like, you know, naturally and things like that. But I love being able to trust myself. You know, when people are like, oh, I'm, you know, beta testing something, or, oh, I'm looking for feedback, or, oh, I'm doing this. I'm like, why? Like, you already know what you want to do. Don't look for approval in other people. Exactly. So that's one thing that I have loved is there's no approval. It's like, this is what I want to do. I divvy it out to the team. You know, sometimes I'll be like, what do you guys think of this? Does this sound like crazy? But for the most part, it's like, this is what you're doing. This is what we're producing. And I get to like trust myself and my own intuition because I already know what to do. Like, I've gone to all the seminars, I've done all the things, you know, I don't need another guru. I just need to go out and execute.
Yeah. And I don't know what your experience has been. Mine is the masterminding now. Like, I've done it too. I've spent tens and thousands of dollars on, you know, groups and coaching and mentors. And it's like, okay, I do know that stuff. And then a lot of times I've outgrown my coaches really fast. And it's like, oh, did I hire the wrong one? No, it's just something I needed to learn, you know? But the masterminding has been the way to go for me. And I have different groups. Plus I have my own mastermind, and that's been amazing because, and I want people to stay. Like, I don't believe you should coach with someone for longer than 6 months to a year, but that's my personal opinion. I feel like if they can't help you in that time, out, you know? But
I love masterminding with people, and I kind of have an analogy. Like, I think of myself as an island, and I call it Sam's Island, and some of my friends make fun of me, but you know, you have to be really protective of who's on your island. And when I realized that they aren't, you know, at the level that I'm at, or they're not going where I want to go, I realized like they don't really belong on my island. And so I just like give them a little boat, you know, and I just like push them out to sea. And it's not one of those things where you have to call up your friends and be like, you're no longer part of my life, you know? It's just, I go, oh, there you go. And then sometimes like, hey, I'll go visit and I'll go pop into your island party. But you know what? Like, my growth and where I'm going, you're not really welcome here.
Yeah. And that's okay. You can't be attached to that outcome because that's what they decide to do with it. But it's so freeing to let things go. And I mean, I applaud you that you were able to do that. It takes sometimes people a whole lifetime to figure out, you know, it's like in the talk I'm giving this weekend, it's like, you can make decisions and maybe 50% of them will not work out well. But guess what? You get to make another decision because of that decision. So who cares if it's the wrong decision? Just make it. Like, that's, people don't make decisions, which is really making a decision by not making a decision. So, you know, you just need to keep moving forward. So I applaud you for that. I think that's fabulous. Is there anything else that's on your heart you'd like to share with the listeners and want to say?
I mean, I don't know. I could talk about every topic under the sun.
I know, we'll have to save it for another episode. I want to keep these a little short because I know people listen to them while they're in the car. We're going to have all of your contact information down below in the show notes, but for someone maybe just listening to it there that wants to just text it real quick, what's the best way they can look you up and check you out?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at the Samantha Parker, and then I'm just at thesamanthaparker.com. And then if you're hanging out on Facebook, like I always say, come join our free group, Girl Crush Alliance. You know, there's like several thousand women in there. Come connect, come find a buddy. Like, you don't have to do this all alone.
Oh, so great stuff. Great stuff. Okay. I hope everybody heard that. I hope you connect with Samantha, check her out a little further. Now, you strictly only work with women? Let's just clarify that.
No, I get asked that a lot. And I've always kind of stood by that I wanted to build a brand that was by women for women, you know, because I see a lot of marketing experts online who are men. And then a lot of women, like, I don't know, the stories and the things I've seen are crazy sometimes. And so I always wanted to build a strong foundation for not only that I can employ amazing women, but that we can help other amazing women. But I actually have a lot of male clients as well. So I always say we're for women and supportive amazing guys.
Yes, love that. Okay. All right. Well, I know your brand's mostly around women, but if somebody listening wanted to come and hire you, you're not going to say no if they're a male.
Absolutely.
All right. Love it. Well, thanks so much for being on the show today. You were awesome. And I wish you all the success in the world. And hopefully maybe we can all do lunch since we actually live in the same town sometime.
I would love that.
Do something like that. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Check her out again at thesamanthaparker.com, right? And then we'll set her other social media channels here on the show notes. And I hope you have a great day, everyone. Thanks again. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. You can learn more about them at theimagedesigners.com or email Holly at hollyporter.com.